I would like to welcome everybody to. I would like to welcome everybody to today's session. SEBAS 210, College of Basic and Applied Sciences, Academic Writing 2. All right, and we are going to be brief in here. The material is not lengthy. Once again, forgive me for my background, but I believe in the next 7 years, when I listen to myself again on this channel, it is going to be a story for all of us. Your hand is up, sir. Your hand is up, sir. Your hand is up, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Hello,
sorry,
Sir
sorry.
Joseph. Yeah. All right. I would like to plead with Mr. Annan to tag everyone who is trying to call me on the page. Please tell them I'm teaching, okay? So I'll be unable to take the call. All right.
Sure,
I think Mr. Nteriba is trying to call me on the normal call. All right. So it's business time. So sorry, I'm not going to pick any calls. So when we talk about academic writing too, with regards to the College of Basic and Applied Sciences, which has to do with the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology and Computer Science students, we want to be able bearing, we want to learn academic writing bearing this in mind, so that we would be able to we'll be able to communicate among ourselves within the space and the confines that we find ourselves. All right. And so this is basically the ACA writing that you know, but we are going to look at it in a community of the technologists. So if you are someone who is an enthusiast in this environment, how do you communicate with your colleagues? What are some of the terms that you use? So there are certain terms that you need to know going forward as a professional in this field, okay? And there is a way you can communicate with people within your jurisdiction, okay? People within your jurisdiction, the people, admin, can you please look at those in the lobby so that we see, okay? So, so that they don't miss anything, because we are now beginning.
Yes,
they
sir.
will
Please,
let me.
it's for the paid people.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Powerful. So we want to be able to communicate among ourselves with the specific vocabulary within our field. And so this is the main purpose of academic writing, which has to do with the code SEBAS 210. All right. It has been tailored to suit that purpose. And some of the things we are going to learn in this lecture is identify the definition for academic writing, and be able to explain the importance of academic writing in computing, right? Which is the academic community that we'll be referring to throughout the examples of this course. All right. Bismarck Kamponsa Sari is in the lobby, and so let's look at him. All right. So we are also going to look at the differences between ACA writing from non-ACA writing. So when we talk about academic writing itself, what do we mean? And something that is not ACA writing, what do we mean? So we are going to look at what distinguishes between them, and then we look at identifying some common academic documents in computing. So just put at the back of your mind that we are basically going to look at how we communicate among I'm going to admit this one. So academic writing is a formal, structured, and evidence-based form of writing used in universities. So when we talk about, just a sec, let me just. Yeah, so when we talk about academic writing, we are basically referring to the type of writing, right, that is guided by a certain level of formality, right? A certain level of formality. So the way you speak to your friend is normally different to the way you speak with, like, let's say, a lecturer, right? And let's say you would meet someone who is holding a very esteemed position in government or in a workplace. Let's say you work in an environment and you have to reach out to these people via these sources, right? This season, it's not going to be this thing for us here with the background sounds. And it's unfortunate that the time that we have is the time that the prayers have been had. So we are receiving blessings, okay? All right. Academic writing is a way of writing that has to do with the formality of things. So when you write with the idea that, or the how do you call it? With the purpose of being formal, do you get it? And then you are writing within a certain class or a certain group of vocabulary. So let's say if I am working as a doctor, you realize that the way I write or what I write or the way I communicate, the way I speak, the terms that I would normally use would be medical terms. So there's a way doctors can write. How many of you have noticed that a doctor can write something, a prescription for you, and you will not be able to read it? But you take that same thing that you don't understand to a pharmacist, and the pharmacist is able to say, oh, okay, just say, when you look through, it looks like Arabic. How many of you have encountered such situations? Let me see. You can lift your hand so that I see. How many of you have encountered such situation? A doctor has given you something, and you were not even seeing anything on the paper, but you could see that he has written something. How many of you have seen doctors' handwritings before? Anyone? Okay, so
Yes, sir.
it is known that, yeah, Mr. Anand. So it is known that when the doctors write, you try hard to go through what they've written, and it's almost as if it is written in a certain programming language. And you would take it and you wouldn't understand. But then as soon as someone picks it who is in that field, let's say a pharmacist, the person will be able to know that, oh, the doctor was talking about oh, paracetamol and then a cough syrup, and then the person is able to have that attention needed based on that prescription, right? So in academic writing, it is not different. Okay, so it is basically who is in what field and how they communicate with the people around them, okay, or the people within their environment. So if it is not medical people, and we are talking about a group of, let's come to our zone. So a group of programmers, right, or IT related people. There are some terms that they will use to communicate among themselves. So all these things are under, or what we call, academic writing. You see, because all these places that we have mentioned, they are formal communities. These are communities like the medical fraternity. You know, these are formal communities based on academic or scholarly purposes. You get it? For which reason, everything that is being communicated there must be formalized. If you were to be, in a place like, excuse me to say, in the market, you see, our markets, our mothers in the market, when they are communicating, they also have their terms that they use, right? But it is not necessarily an academic communication that they may use, right? But they also have their terms. That means that we can have some communities that are not academic communities, but these communities also have their own jargons, their own terms that they use to communicate among them. But the focus on this course would be the academic communities. And then we are going to specifically look at our brothers and sisters in the IT field. So this is basically what academic writing entails. And we are saying that it is a formal way or a structured way or an evidence-based form of writing. So as soon as you begin to write and you are being formal with it, and then you seem to have a certain skeleton or a certain plan for how you are writing, you have a certain structure laid down to follow, and then it's on evidence or what you have seen or what you have heard, excuse me, or what you have heard, you get me, or even what you have felt. Okay, these are all evidence. There are some times that people say, I didn't see him, but the fact that I felt it, me, I believe in my feelings. As soon as I feel it, it is my evidence. You get it? So evidence based on your sensory organs, all right? Sight, smell, evidence. And there are some evidence that that are of logical truth. And we are going to delve into these ones too as well. These ones, whether you smell it or not, they already exist. You get it? So these ones, normally you can't do anything about it. You can't even, when I come and tell you those ones, they are of certainty. All right? So if what you are writing is based on any source of these areas of your evidence, then, and you have a formal way of writing it or communicating it, and it is following a particular structure, then we say you are performing or you are engaging in academic writing. You see, and it is normally used in university. Because in the university, you have people who are engaged in scholarly activities. When I say scholarly activities, what I basically mean is that people who are engaged in school activities, something that has to do with academics, something that has to do with education, researching, all right, and so on. And so with this, you have different departments in the universities which helps to group the various communities. And you can see from a university then you will communicate, or you are to communicate informally. I'm looking for that day though. It can be done. But maybe it will be 400 years to come. But until then, schools are the ideal places where academic writing would be seen, right? So it is used to communicate knowledge. So academic writing is used to communicate knowledge. That's why it is best, or the ideal place is finding it in schools or universities. So we use it to communicate knowledge. And so you realize that the textbooks you read, the slides you read, communicate knowledge to you in a very formal way. They don't tell you, they don't shorten things, they don't use jargon, they don't use pidgin or a mixture of the local dialect or something to communicate what is in your slide, what is written for you to read. And so it is used to communicate knowledge. It is used to communicate research findings. After you get your information, gather, analyze, and then produce or evaluate, then you have to communicate everything that you have, the data you have collected, you see, and the problem you have solved or analyzed. You need to now communicate your production. And so this is where your judge or your department head would come to communicate what they have found based on their analysis. And they normally hold these events to do that, or they do them through publishing companies like the dailies, the graphics, and so on. And so um, and so as we are communicating, kindly mute yourself if the microphone is on, okay? And let's be conscious of our microphone, okay? We are already having a lot of dear Onyame. It is well. So academic writing, you are already seeing some of the importance. It is used to communicate knowledge. It is used to communicate research findings and then technical ideas as well. And so as an IT person or professional, how do you communicate all the complex things you have learned to the layman or the layperson? You need to, as a matter of fact, bear in mind the audience or the community you are in to know how to communicate. Okay, so if there are people within your circle in that same profession that you are a master of, then you can communicate technically with them, but it still be formal, right? And then if it is a group of people who are not in your community, right, discourse community, then you need to have a different way, look at how, what industry or what sector are they in, and then you know the kind of terms to use to communicate to them. And so when a lawyer is communicating or defending their clients, right? Defending their clients, there are certain terms that when you go there, you find the same way with other departments. And so you should know where you are in or which area you are in and know what to communicate. And so, and when you communicate, you must communicate clearly and you must have an objective to accomplish. At the end of the day, what should the people know and what are they supposed not to know, right? So all these things are the importance of academic writing. And so section A, you can be asked in your objectives, what are some of the importance of academic writing? Yeah. And so these are some of them. Helps you to communicate knowledge, helps you to what? Communicate research findings and even your very technical ideas, right? And it helps you to do it clearly and objectively. That means that objectively in the sense that you communicate with a goal to accomplish. What do you intend for them to know? Your goal is to inform the people. How have you structured your communication, your writing? All right. And so you are going to hear me start to incorporate the word communication or replace it with the word writing. Okay, so that we get it. All right. And so communication can be in the form of written or speech. But in this course, we are dealing with communication by writing. And so when you hear me talk about communication, I am referring to writing. And so we look at some of the disciplines in academic writing.
Mr.
And what are
Evans,
they used for?
your slides are not
So
showing.
essays writing in computing. Academic writing are used for essay writings in computing. You
Yeah, hello, Mr. Evans. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. I think Mr. Evans is having a problem.
Okay. Me too. I think I'm the only one who facing the same problem. So if it is genuine, then it's okay.
Please let's give him some minutes. He'll be back.
All right.
I think I am back. I advise that nobody calls me when I'm teaching, okay? So it interrupts the network and um, I will end up not picking anyway. So let's please can am I being heard? I really apologize for the network. If you can hear me, please let me know you can hear me, okay? Hello, can you hear me, somebody?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
All right, all right. Please, what's the
Sir,
last
please,
thing you heard me?
I've notified them. I've notified them. I don't know why they are still calling.
Okay, so, thank you very much for that. Normally, I prefer people reach out during the weekdays. Okay, the weekends is a busy time for all of us. Okay, so if there's a problem, try to reach out very early during the week. You see, so I don't know why they do this, and so soon I wouldn't pick calls during the weekend. Okay, so what was the last thing you heard? What was the last thing you heard? So that I take that from there. Okay. What was the last thing you heard? Anybody? So that I go back quickly. Okay, quickly. Today we are not to take a lot of time. We will just do a lot of things in a short time. So we want to be quick. I want to know where we ended. What was the last statement you heard or so? Then I take it up from there. Okay. Anybody? Anybody? Or is my microphone not working? Hello? Hi. Mr. Anand, can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, I was asking.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, the last point we got to, so that I'll take it up from there. Okay. Because I want to know so that I will not go too far back, you see, or will know exactly where to start from. Okay.
Sir,
So that we go quickly. Yes, sir.
I think we're looking at the importance also.
The importance. Okay. Thank you very much. So some of the importance that we looked at was that it helps us to do what? To communicate knowledge. To communicate knowledge, research findings, and technical ideas. And that it doesn't only help us to communicate them, but it also helps us to communicate them clearly and objectively. Okay, very, very important. And so from there, we're looking at the various disciplines when it comes to academic writing in computing that it aids us in. So in which areas in computing do you see, or in the IT profession, do you get it, that it helps us in? So we mentioned that it helps us in what? Essay writing, helping us to narrate the various procedures that we go through to accomplish our goal when we are programming, right? How, when we tell you to narrate the procedures you went through in achieving a goal in coding, you'll be well able to communicate it in writing. You see, formally for your lecturer to understand, since we are dealing with academic community. And so, and then we moved on to the laboratory reports, being able to make your lab report well structured and be clear for everybody to understand. You see, not using too technical and too open or too broad words, right, for people to be confused, right? So it helps us in these particular areas, right? In the laboratory, in computing, project and system documentation. These are disciplines in our field that this course helps us to perfect our writing in. So project and system documentation, where you need to put everything on paper so that we can have record of the whole project. You are a team of about 7 people and you have been given a task to accomplish, let's say in database management, where you have a boss, your administrator have told you, or your IT director has given you a task or a project to accomplish, and you are to produce reports, not lab reports, but project reports on the very task you were given to accomplish as a team. Normally, you are given deadlines to accomplish your task in different, depending on where you are working, right? You are given tasks to accomplish, for which, after which you are to produce project reports, and it needs to be understandable, readable, clear for everybody to understand. When a manager picks up your reports, based on the fact that you have gone through this course, they should be able to understand. And these are some of the importance that brings to bear when it comes to these disciplines. So we've talked about essay writing or your narration skills, your ability to be able to narrate things, you know, on the spot, and be able to gather laboratory reports very well, and then be able to project, be able to do your project and system reports or system documentation. And then we also have another discipline where, in this sense, where it helps us to do what? To go about our research papers and thesis, even in the university. You get it? So at the end of this course in level 400, you will be given projects to do in groups or individually, and you'll be given the opportunity to put yours in a thesis of what you were supposed to do and communicate it, and the university is going to keep this thesis in their, is going to keep these thesis or this documentation or this research that you have done, providing solutions to your environment and all that. Yes, you are technical. Yes, you are professional, but you need to provide everything and write them in the form of thesis for people or governments to go through, and then also use it, probably use it to answer certain things, because it is known that certain governments, certain parties go to these universities, and then these theses that we write and then publish in the libraries are what they use to design and then create their policies for their various countries. So some of them go to get access from the universities. Example, University of Ghana has a whole library of problem-solving students who have over the years compiled their research works, right, in the library. So you have access to them. You can go and read some people's thesis. Those who just completed level 400, I believe they also have this, and it's the last stage of everything. And so being an academic community, we are obliged to have these. And so by the end of this course, you should be able to have or perfect the art of documenting these research papers and theses all together, right? And so your knowledge on these things will go to an extent to help us or yourself or others to be able to understand what you have solved, the problem you have solved in your community. All right. And so why should we study academic writing? Well, this is, hey, it's as if the man is really screaming. Me too, I'm screaming, oh. But I hope you can hear me, everyone. I hope you can hear me, okay? Don't worry, a year by this time, we'll own our mansions. Amen. If you like, don't say amen. Mansion, oh. All right. So, we want to know why the course should be learned in the first place. And so if you look at the important, I see a hand up. Sir Richard, your hand was up. Hello, Sir Richard. All right. So let's try to pay attention, and your hand is up so that we don't stress the tutors, okay? All right. So some of the importance that we looked at when we ask you why academic writing, we are basically telling you why, what are the importance. What are the importance? So anytime that someone asks why something, the answers you provide can also be the answers for its importance. Because when someone asks you why something, they are basically asking the reason for that particular thing. What is the purpose of it? And your purpose shows your importance. And so you can switch importance with whys and then use it to explain. And so let's go through it. You realize that some of the importance we spoke about will come in different ways over here. And so you see that academic writing enables computing students, professionals, researchers to be able to explain technical concepts clearly. Did we not look at it in the first slide? Yes, we did. And so you see that it's now being given a body or a massage of words, right? Explain technical concepts clearly. Number two, it helps us to justify design and implementation, justify design and implementation in implementing decisions. So academic writing is the last stage of your process of creating. So after you analyze, you want to solve a problem in your community. So you take in the you understand the problem first, and then you sit down and begin to analyze the problems or the data you have gotten, and then you begin to code a program to solve that problem you've identified. And now after you have coded everything and programmed your software, and it has been launched, you now have the singular honor to communicate everything that you have done, right, to the general public that, oh, this and this and these things that I've done this, so for people to understand, you get it, what you have done. And in so doing, this is the last stage of everything. So after you have created and coded everything, you now want to educate the public that such and such and such is what I have done. And you will educate the general public on its usage, its implementation, how it is used, what it is used for. And this is what this point is talking about. Your ability and your execution on professionalism on academic writing would be at play when it is time to communicate what you have done as an IT professional in this academic community. And so we move on to the next point, which says what? Present research results professionally, right? Present research results professionally. This one, it basically, as it is, I believe I've explained it previously, where I spoke about being able to communicate well the things you have done and let it be clear and it be formal so that your boss will be able to understand without jargons or semi-formal or informal way of communicating. And so with the academic way of writing, you become more of a professionally branded individual, right? And your research work or your works, right, go to an extent to cross borders for your findings to gain the recognition that they deserve. If you don't communicate, you can do the most, how many of you have noticed that people have done so many very powerful things, so created or innovated things, but yet the way and manner things were communicated to the general public, it didn't make them even know how important that particular item was done, or that particular device was created, that particular software was created. They are very highly sophisticated softwares that can solve these recent problems that we face daily. But the way and manner the technical people communicate it to the general public makes it less appetizing for people to even venture in, let alone to learn thoroughly what you have researched. And so your presentation on your research is very, very key, and you can only learn it through academic writing, right? And so this is why academic writing is important to a computing student, all right? Communicate with academic and professional audiences. Communicate with academic and professional audiences. There are a lot of people who have been in the field for so many years. I believe some of them are listening to me now. And there is a way and manner we have to communicate if it is to them. That's why you have to know. Academic writing will help you to know your audience. Academic writing will help you to know your audience. And in so doing, you would know that, okay, if I'm communicating to IT professionals, which level are they in? Are they intermediaries? Are they highly professionals? Are they beginners? So academic writing will help you, the learning of academic writing will help you to bear in mind these audiences, right? And including the advanced ones or the professional ones, right? So it will help you to frame your writings, your communication would be clear to them as well, and not just to the low-end people. Sometimes if you communicate low and you have professionals among you, like the way I do certain things here when I'm teaching. When I'm teaching, I want to communicate even such that those people who are now new to this topic or the topic that I'm teaching would to be able to catch on and flow along with the professionals as well. But you see, it becomes repetitive when you have a professional with you. In that, with the beginner, you would have to repeat certain things over and over again. And to the professional, it will look as if you are repeating a lot of things. And so they can be bored and then be focusing or not paying attention on things. And so with the advent of academic writing, you are able to write with these types of audiences in mind and know how to combine both audiences and communicate effectively. All right. So academic writing versus non-academic. So as we were comparing our market women, our mothers in the market, and our sisters in the corporate world, let's say they are in a technology firm, right? So what are the differences? What are the differences? So this is what we are looking at. So in an academic writing setting, when an administrator in an IT firm is communicating, and let's say someone in the market who keeps the record and attendance of people in the market, their communication will be different, far different, because first of all, they are living in a different field, and then one is in the informal sector, and then the other is in a much more formal sector, right? And so their way of communicating would be different. One will be informal, the other will be formal. And you will realize that the one who is in the informal sector writes with personal objectives. You get it? The way and manner they want to write, that's what they write. You get it? So because you don't really have a particular goal, all you want to do is to write the number of people who have come to the market today. Amora no Bayana. The tomato seller, did she come? Okay, oh, I'm not sure she came. Like you just do it according to your own understanding. You see, they don't have any education whatsoever to follow a particular structure or follow a certain type of procedure. And so they will use their own knowledge or their wisdom to do things. And these are some of the differences. So you see the formal and objective, meaning that the formal side, they normally have a particular purpose. Okay, because they are communicating to the public and they have learned about ACA writing, they know that, hey, in ACA writing, I must have an objective. What am I to let the people know? What is the core data or what's the core information that needs to cut across to the people? So formal academic writing is formal and objective. It has an objective. You get it? And then non-academic is normally informal and it is personal. You don't have an equal objective to achieve. Normally personal. Someone can just rise up and change the order of the day and everybody will flow with it. It is not controlled. All right. So another difference is the evidence-based. Academic writing deals with what you have seen. Because academic writing follows a scientific procedure, we normally, science is based on what we see. Science is based on experiments, and experiments and findings, as you can see, or as you know, would realize that these ones are based on sight. So even the labs we do, the experiments we do, is observation based. When we add certain chemical compounds together, we are waiting to see their reactions, and then we take our necessary notes, right? And based on what we have seen, that is what we go by, and this is what science is about. And academic writing follows that procedure. And since it is something tangible based on what we have seen, what we can hold, we take record of it. In a formal world, you can't take record of what you have not seen. We are not dealing with faith. We are dealing with what we have seen. So whilst if you are in the spiritual world, you can say, oh, okay, I think I saw something here, and so let's do research on it. We don't base on assumptions in the academic world or in the academic writing field. All right, everything is based on observation. It is based on evidence. After experimentation, you make your observation, and then now you write your observation. And this is where academic writing comes at play, which is almost always the last stage of the whole process. So when you are analyzing, you write. When you are understanding the problem, you write. When you understand the problem and you analyze and you are evaluating too, you write. And then after you are done with everything and you need to bring out your findings, it comes out in what? Writing. And so everything is based on evidence, what you have seen and what you have placed down. And this is the difference between academic writing and non-academic writing. So you realize that unlike our people in the market, our mothers, oh, it's based on yes. This person said this, so, oh, wow, that's the ish in town. This person too said this, so, hey, and you know, bro, yeah, and we'll take it as that, based on gossips, opinions, and hearsays, but not something that is quantifiable or evidence-based. And this is what proves whether you are living in an academic field or community, or you are in a non-academic community. You get it? So you should know some of these small differences, and then the structure. I've mentioned it already, right? And so on. There are more importance, more differences. So we can strike the importance or the reasons why academic writing exists and use it to know the various stuff. So examples of non-academic is this program is very fast and cool. How someone who is a non-academic person would write is normally different from the way someone who has been properly educated, right, and has the knowledge on academic writing is supposed to communicate. And so if someone who has no knowledge of academic writing is communicating, this is what probably they are going to say. And an example is, this program is very fast and cool. That is how we talk to our peers, right? That is how we communicate among ourselves. But if you have to communicate that same sentence in a more academic way, this program is very fast and cool. How are you going to communicate it? Especially you being a computing student in an academic discourse community. What you are going to say in your field, the other way you can put it, there are so many ways you can put it for it to mean the same. By giving these examples, one thing I noticed about our people was that they seem to think that there's a proper way or a definite way to communicate an academic style of communication. I would like to put across that whatever you use to communicate, whatever terminology, official terminology you use, so far as they are the right things to use and they are the correct official, terminologies to use with regards to the community, then you are on the right path. So there is no definite way of communicating a particular thing. You can likely find terminologies within that same field that will mean the same thing, right? After all, it is English, right? So it just needs to make sense, all right? Okay, so communicating this program is very fast and cool, which is a normal way that we communicate among ourselves. In a more academic form, it can come as what? The program demonstrates high execution speed and efficiency. Because what you are trying to communicate, what is the objective? The objective is to say that, oh, you have a program, and the program is very fast and cool. So in order to communicate something in a more academic form, you need to take its non-academic form, the objective, what is the purpose of that the person is trying to achieve with what they are saying. You that is well learned, what do you believe based on what they have said, right? They are trying to communicate. You get it? So when you get the objective, then you can reframe the sentence according to the discourse community you are dealing with, in this case, computing. And so the program demonstrates high execution speed and efficiency. So it's very fast and it's very cool. So we are talking about its execution rate and then the ability and what work it does within its execution rate. Okay, the kind of work within that time, that short time, its execution rate or the speed within that time, what number of work has it done? So you are, in other words, you are saying that it's very fast and it's very cool. So when someone who doesn't know this thing is saying this, when we say a machine is fast, a machine is fast, it's able to do a lot of things in a shortest possible time, right? And we are basically saying that the machine is efficient. And so these are some of the ways that we can frame it in our community. And when we get the foundation, we'll be able to answer a lot of things. And so we look at the common academic documents in computing. I think we have seen this. We looked at the essays, the lab reports. You see, these are repetitive. Okay, they are repeating themselves. Expectations from students. Students are expected to write clearly. So these things are repetitive. So when you study academic writing as a student, what is expected of you? When you study it, it will help you to write clearly. It will help you to be formal. You see, you support your ideas that you have done with evidence-based because you make references on what you are saying or what you have done. You quote references. You get it? Aha, to back your findings, to support your writing on what you have created or what you have programmed. You get it? You have equal innovations all over the world that you can compare your work to, and those ones become your evidence, and you're able to communicate all these things. So your expectation as an academic writing student offering computing would broaden your mind on these areas. And you can also take the importance of academic writing and bring them here as well. But you frame it, you make your sentence relate to students and not necessarily an academic writing professional who may likely not be a student. You get me? So this time around, you tailor your words to suit the needs of a student. And in academic writing, it helps you to know the concept of plagiarism, that your work is by no means similar with a colleague of yours or similar to the database that the institution in question is receiving. All right? You are not directly picking someone's work to present as your own. basically the concept of plagiarism. All right. When you take someone's words or you write someone's words as yours, then it is known that you have plagiarized. And so let us note these things and we will do well, because plagiarism in some countries are criminal or is a criminal offense, and you can be jailed or fined depending on the country's laws. So it is very important. This is why the school is much concerned about plagiarism. And so even if you know the depths of academic writing, you will even know what statements or how to narrow down your answers to AI, even when you are dealing with your classwork assignments and so on, right? You know how to narrow your answer down for it not to be similar to anybody who would also use that same platform. There's a way to go about things. You need to understand the concept of what you want to achieve and be able to use certain keywords to narrow down your work and perhaps redefine it over and over again, so you have an ideal or a unique way of having your answers given by the same AI. And so I, for one, am not against the AI as well, the usage of it by students, but they should rather be enlightened on the usage of it and how it will not plagiarize, that they will not plagiarize their findings, or their findings will not be found plagiarized. And so as students, there is a need for us to take clues from these and then take some few time out to study and know how to go about these things. Okay, so because plagiarism is going to be a thing in the future. People are going to sue a lot of people because of copy works, because it will get to a time the AI usage will be in abundance. We are in a situation where AI is being used to create websites, to create programs, and the AI is using a database to provide the nearest answers they can find. And so in a go, they can give the same answers to different people, and you may not know. So as an academic writing student, your goal is to identify the meaning of broad definitions, how to narrow definition, and so on, to be able to know how to put these words together and get a unique answer for yourself. This is why a lot of people struggle with the need to humanize and so on and so forth. If they have this knowledge, they'll be able to go through. And so this brings us to the end of this week, but we want to look at the characteristics and the language of academic writing. I want us to look at the characteristics and language of academic writing. Now, let's move on. Let's learn some few things, all right? When we talk about, let me just begin, let me just move on to the next document. Where is it? Yeah, so that we reach where the lecturer has gotten to. I have some few minutes. Okay, so don't worry, we'll finish right now. I'll start speeding up and then we go. The rest are repetition. So now that we know what academic writing entails, we want to be able to identify the characters of academic writing, use appropriate academic language, avoid common language errors. Okay, and um, and where is it? Avoid language errors, use appropriate academic language, and then identify key characteristics of academic writing. Now, we just learned about academic writing being essential for computing students, right? How it's important to computing students. We also learned how it differs significantly from everyday writing, the non-academic from the academic, right? We also learned that it supports academic success after you have achieved your goal as a programmer, creating the software or completing the project, right? How you communicate things. So it supports academic success and professional development. So that means that apart from the work you have done, whether in school or at your workplace, it supports you to be able to communicate well. So the key characteristics of academic writing are basically the formality, the objectivity, the clarity, and structure. But this time we have added some words to the structure part. We are adding logical structure, and we are going to look at it. Now, when we talk, we'll take all of them one by one. So when we talk about academic writing being a formal way of writing, we are basically saying that avoid the usage of slangs. Think of it as you are speaking to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana and you are speaking to such authority. Are you going to use your informal way of communicating, or you're going to use a semi-formal way of communicating? Are you going to use these shortcut words that we use for ourselves, your peers, colleagues, and so on? And so when the issue of formality comes in, we avoid the use of jargons and slangs and informal expressions. Me, I know they go, I know they come. Me, I know they chill. That one. So sometimes you have to make it a point as a student of academic writing to continuously or intentionally desire to communicate in full and not in shortcuts. Because sometimes you realize that it becomes a pattern that you can't almost stop, right? And so when you develop a habit to write in full, it programs your mind in a way to consciously be aware when you are communicating with slangs to a higher authority, right? Those of you who became reps of academic writing, the various group reps, as I appointed some of you to take on those roles, sometimes I could just imagine, because I myself, I would go through such, right? Same. And you would imagine you communicating with your lecturer who lectures on academic writing, and you are sending such person a message. How do you go about it? You think about your words twice before you communicate. And so these, you know that you have to be, in a sense, a formal way, right? You need to communicate in a formal way. Okay, so from today, let it be a conscious effort to communicate formally. Sometimes the keyboards on our phones have come to do, that's where some of the damages come about. See? So it is what it is. Formality is key in academic writing. Avoid contractions where you combine words or letters to make a word. In academic writing, these ones should be avoided. Very, very important. Use complete sentences. Sometimes we decide to use phrases, even clauses sometimes, which doesn't even make complete sense. And because it is normal with our colleagues, these are not expected in academic writings, all right? And you must always remember to keep a professional tone. These are all the parameters of being formal. These are all the characteristics of being formal in your academic writings. Avoid slangs, avoid informal expression, avoid contractions, that means that combination of letters to form words. Use complete sentences, maintain professional tone, and then we have the formality continued. So now that we have talked about avoiding slangs and informal expression, avoiding contractions, avoid the use of incomplete sentences. That means that the use of phrases and so on, right? And then maintaining a professional tone, like what we noticed in our previous slides on this topic. So these are some of the examples. So another example is given here, an informal way of writing, and then we have a very formal way of writing that same sentence. So just because the academic way of writing this informal sentence was given doesn't mean that this is the only way we could have written it. I would like to hit that again. The fact that we have an academic way of writing this informal sentence doesn't mean that that is the only way it can be communicated. There are so many ways we can communicate the same sentence. And so let it not be, I want your learning to be focused on extensive wise and not a narrowed down way of learning, which has to do with the popular expression, as we say, chew and pour, right? And so it is very important to notice these ones. And so an informal way of communicating may be in this form. Example 1, the results show that the new method works way better than the old one. This is these sentences, this informal way may not necessarily have mistakes in them, but for the purposes of being a professional in that field, if you want to say something in a professional manner, how would you communicate it? Especially you being a computing student, what are some of the terminologies you can use? You get it? And so you think of it in that sense, and you'll be able to produce correct results. And the results that was given here is the results indicate. So instead of saying show, you can choose to use indicate. It makes it sound more formal and not semi-formal, right? The results indicate, you see, the same way as I was saying, as an academic or as an academic writing student, you can also come up with instead of using results, you can also say that the evaluation indicates, okay, because evaluation is the result of your analysis and your understanding of the problems after you have processed everything. The production of it is your evaluation. You get it? All right. So you can go with that instead of going with results. You get it? So these are some of the other ways you can make your words more professional. And so try not to stick with what you have been given alone. Look for other ways and words that you can use to make your sentences much formal. All right, and challenge yourself in that regard. So let's look at particular ones that has to do with IT. Let's look at the next one, which says what? We looked at the data and found some pretty interesting patterns. We looked at the data and found some pretty interesting patterns. In an academic manner, right? Someone may say that, oh, but this one, it doesn't really need any changes. But to look through something, okay, or to go through something, as computing students, one of the terminologies you can use for looking through is to use the word analysis. You see, analysis means to look through, to go through, to double check, uh, and so on and so forth. You get it? Data is already a word in the computing field. And since the sentence is on computing, you want to better position the sentence in that particular academic writing or academic community. All right, so an analysis of the data reviewed, you get it, several notable patterns. You get it, several notable patterns. So this is one of the ways that you can present this same informal sentence. You will see that in most ways, it will either come to make it much easier or elongate it. And so one of the things you want to do as an academic writer is to not think about how short your words would be or your sentences would be, but look at the aim and the audience and the level of your audience, right? The technical know-how of your audience, and know what to communicate to them at what time, in which situation. All right. So these are much simpler. These are things that we cannot teach offhand, but if we expose the structure of how the academic writing, the correct ones are about, then you would be able to understand and always produce yours. And so, because of this problem, because of this problem, the project didn't go as planned. When someone says that, right away you could see that there are what contractions inside the sentence, and one of the contractions is what didn't. Over here, you can see that instead of saying did not, that means that as an academic writer, you should expand the word and not look for its shortened form. So this is what we meant by avoid contractions. And so if you understand these things here in the formality side, you know how to make your sentences sound formal. And so in the objective side, they can present to you a list of options, and then you choose the right one. All right, so you should choose in the parameters that you have been given here. Avoid slangs, informal expression, avoid contractions, use complete sentences, and maintain professional tone. All right. All right. So apart from these examples, you can look at them yourself later on and see the way forward on those ones. Okay. And then we look at another parameter, right, which is objectivity. Academic writing is based on objective based. You must have a purpose for writing what you are writing. Focus on your facts and your evidence. You have to stick with them and avoid emotional or biased language. You see, you limit personal opinions, support claims with sources. You maintain a certain composure in your writing. You don't add emotions. You focus on the facts. The facts speak. It's not about your opinions. You see, the moment you begin to talk about your own opinions, you are not living in the confines of academic writing, and for that matter, the parameter called objectivity. And so you need to know these things. So if you are to if you are to give, if you are giving us some sentences that are based on emotions and not based on experiments or experimentation or research, right, or evidence-based, then the person may be talking from their own opinion, and the person is not following this principle which guides academic writing. Okay, so objectivity, very important. Avoid emotional or biased language because it is based on evidence. You should try and pick sources that talks about both sides elaborately based on the evidence that are available. You get it? So you should also be able to support your claims with sources. You see, if it is truly evidence-based, then the people must know the sources of your knowledge, the sources of your findings, because every finding that you make, it should be based on a previous knowledge. That is science to you. It shouldn't, you shouldn't, to science, you don't build castles in mid-air. Okay, so your sources must be known and references must be made. And this is part of the objectivity. When it comes to clarity and precision, you must be direct and be clear. There mustn't be any doubt. Use simple and clear sentences so that the people will be able to understand, because you have an objective of communicating with evidences to a particular group of people, and they must be able to understand. Otherwise, your purpose is not achieved. And this is one of the principles or the disciplines or the guidelines of academic writing. So bear this in mind. Avoid unnecessary words. Because it must be clear, you shouldn't try and bring some words that are not necessary in the build-up of your writing to make your explanations very clear. You must be specific and accurate, define technical terms, and so on. You get it? All right. Like I said, defining technical terms, you must know the level of your people to know what exactly to communicate. All right. Are they intermediaries? Are they beginners? Are they advanced? You get it? So academic vocabulary, the kind of words you use, bearing in mind these people, you should know what to use, when to switch. When the people have moved out and new people have come in, what are their backgrounds? What are the audience? What is the audience? You get it? Then you switch. You know how to switch when need be. So if I'm speaking to a group of people who are not really educated, there's a way and manner we communicate, right? There's a style of communication that I will adapt. You get it? And so it has to do with the choice of words and even avoiding vague words. Words that do not have to do with what I'm talking about, or words that are really, really broad in nature and they do not make sense. It doesn't entail exactly what we need to talk about. And on a broader sense, they don't also make sense. And we have to be consistent with terminologies. Okay? We have to make it a conscious habit to use within the confines of the academic community that you are communicating in, which is very, very important. All right? We have the common language errors, the common errors. So based on these things that we have given, the confines of academic writing, the principles, the disciplines that you must follow in academic writing, or to enable to identify academic writing pieces, you can negate all of them to find the common languages in academic writing. And this would be, you see, so if it is not vague, then it is an you have ambiguous statements. Your statement being in ambiguity would mean that nobody will understand anything. And inform informal expressions. So if it's not formal, it's informal. So it's basically turning everything around. All right. There are some parts that we would not have to focus on because we have dealt with them in the other way around, right? And so flipping them all together or negating them gives you the answers. All right, great. And so these are some of the examples to be our assignment. We are going to look at it in our next lesson. And so thank you for being in today's session. We are going to look at these answers going forward the next time we meet as the first thing. And we'll look at all of them together, these examples. So based on these things we have learned on the parameters and the do's and don'ts, we'll look at some of the informal way of communicating, some few examples over here and some extra ones I'm going to bring. And then we'll look at them one by one. And then all of us will speak. So then in our next session is going to be you speaking to me and not me speaking to you. Okay, on this note, I'll take some questions and we will look at them extensively. So if you have a question, feel free and then ask them. If you felt I jumped something, you can draw my attention and then I elaborate on it, okay? All right, so any question? Any question, or should I ask a question? All right. So if there are no questions, then I would draw my question. I would, how do you call it? Create my questions and then make them available for all of us. It's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for bearing with the initial noise from my background. We are believing on God for miracles. And thank you for always being concerned with your own academics. And we pray that the Lord, the good Lord, blesses your efforts in learning so that you are able to produce or come out with flying colors. And so as your tutor, I wish you all the best. I'll see you next time in our next lesson, probably in another course or the same one. Until then, if you have more questions, I would like you to reach out to the number, right? The number remains 0545057119, 0545057119. If you're watching this video from outside the country, you add the +2 33545057119. Okay, so these videos are available for those who have access to them, and then you'll be able to, if you go through them, you'll be able to listen to them over and over again. These are not replacement for the official classes, but supplementary to the official classes. And so this is why we take time in expanding what you may have learned in just one session. All right. And so thank you all very much for being available. Have a good evening and bye-bye.